What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of That's Right, I Said It. It is Monday. I'm going to try to make the best of that. Um, if you've watched a couple of my videos and, videos like this are empowering to you, just to know that there are other people out there in the trenches with you going through some of the same struggles, whether it be with Kratom or some other sort of opiate, or really fill in the blank with whatever your substance of choice is. If you feel empowerment from this, if this encourages you in some way, shape, or form to improve and better your own relationship with X substance, then just hit that subscribe button. It's a free service. Don't be one of those people that takes the candy from the jar up by the cash register and then when no one's looking just sticks it into your pocket and walks out. I mean, nobody's gonna see you. You'll probably get by with it. I'm not looking for you, but do you really want to be that person? If you enjoy the content, just hit the subscribe button. It helps me out. It takes you 2 seconds. You don't ever have to think about it again. And then on to the next thing, right? Okay. So my Kratom taper is still in full effect. I'm proud of myself. Pat on the back required. I actually tapered down even further this weekend. Yes, I was on 10 grams as of Friday when I did my video last week. As of yesterday, I actually only took 8 grams of Kratom yesterday. And believe it or not, my sleep was okay last night as well. Why is that? How is that? Well, I think I've found something that really works, which I'm not probably telling anyone out there anything you didn't already know, because a lot of people have mentioned this to me in the comments, and it's very well known that these 2 items that I'm about to mention can help with not only sleep, but help a little bit with lessening the withdrawals from something like Kratom or any other opiate. And those 2 things are Kava and Magnesium, both of which I dosed on yesterday evening before I laid it down. Kava, in my opinion, is not habit forming. There are some different schools of thought out there on this, and there are people that say because it attaches to the GABA receptors in the brain and at larger amounts can have kind of a similar sort of stance and effect as some of the traditional some of the traditional prescription anti-anxiety medications like the lorazepam, Xanax, stuff like that. I think it's all relative, and I think it has to do with how much you're really taking of something like that. At the amounts that I've been taking Kava, I have not experienced anything as significant in its relaxing effects or any sort of euphoria that I've experienced. I wouldn't put it up there with a Xanax. I wouldn't put it up there with a lorazepam, but it does a good number on you for sleep and relaxation, and just for kind of calming the mind, And I know for me and a lot of other people out there, one of the reasons we get into this cycle of abusing substances is because we're naturally a worrier. I don't mean a warrior, a worry, or a warrior would be better, right? No, you're a warrior. You worry all the time, but I'm one of those people that I just tend to be a little bit anxious, a little bit high strung. And although I try not to be this way, I am the type of person that I will at times, especially, let's get real, especially when going through some sort of withdrawal, when your mood is a little lower, you're kind of dealing with a little bit of depression and anhedonia and things like that. It's hard, very hard, when you're lacking that dopamine and those feel-good chemicals to really be able to set a positive standard of thinking for yourself, and not to always just divert to, any kind of negative thought patterns that are cycling around in your brain. And I'm just like anybody else when it comes to stuff like that. Sometimes it's worse than others, like I said, especially when I'm going through like a taper process and I'm cutting down pretty significantly, something like Kratom every day. Your mood it kind of suffers during that process. And I'm not, if you're subscribed to my channel, you already know this. If you've ended up on my channel, you probably already know this. You've had a couple of experiences to the rodeo and back with opiates and trying to quit. And I know that Kratom is not considered an opiate, but if you're a person out there that it's saying that it does not have opiate-like effects, then just go fuck off, because you know it does. It does. It is opiate-like and narcotic-like, and its withdrawals are opiate-like and narcotic-like. So with that, when you start to come off and taper of something like that, whether it be just cold turkey withdrawals or tapering, your mood's going to suffer, right? You're going to feel a little down, a little bit depressed, hard finding pleasure in things, aka anhedonia. And Kava can kind of help with that. And Kava has a reverse tolerance, which means a lot of times they request that people take a larger amount at first, because a lot of people don't really get the effects at the beginning. And then what happens is, as you take it every day, it kind of builds up in your system, and then you get to a point where you're actually excuse me, it builds up in your system and you actually become more sensitive to it, and you actually need to take less and less and less and less for the same benefits. Complete opposite of something like Kratom, right? Kratom's one of those things where has the opposite of a reverse tolerance, right? And the more you take it, the more you have to take. What 7 grams did for you a year ago, you're going to have to take 15 grams to get that same effect now after taking it for that year. You know what I mean? So I strongly recommend Kava in a situation where, if you're trying to come off of something like Kratom or some other sort of opioid, because I've talked about before how sleep always tends to, for me at least, depression and sleep kind of tends to be the worst of the side effects of withdrawals when you're coming off of something like Kratom. And Kava tends to help with both of those, right? So that is definitely something I recommend, because like I said, I only took 8 grams of Kratom yesterday. Today, I'm on track to take 6.5 grams of Kratom. I'm gonna take I've already taken my morning dose, which was significantly smaller. I only did 3 caps. Each of those caps were a half gram a piece, or 500 milligrams. So once everything's said and done, when the sun sets this evening, I would have only had about 6.5 grams of Kratom. I'll be able to report to you a little better tomorrow, what my sleep is like, and whether the Kava still was able to help with me sleeping through the night and stuff like that. Because again, like I said on last Friday when I did my video, I kind of have an extremist mindset. And I'm one of those people, if I make up my mind and I decide I'm going to come off the Kratom, I'm going to stop taking the Kratom, I don't want it to last 2 months. I don't want it to last 3 months. And, one of the guys that is actually a subscriber to my channel made a good comment. He and I were talking back and forth the other day, and he made some sort of comment saying something like, hey, it's easier to hang off of a cliff for 3 weeks than it is to hang off of a cliff for 3 months. And that made a lot of sense. I was like, ding, 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 ding. That's a very good analogy. And that makes a lot of sense, because, that's a lot of hours. That's a lot of days. That's a lot of minutes to always make the right decision and not take that extra dose of Kratom when you have some sort of event coming up, or just one day that you just lied to yourself and told yourself that, okay, well, I want to have a little bit more fun today, so let me just take this extra Kratom drink, or let me take another extra dose of capsules, or let me take 8 capsules instead of my usual 5 capsules, or just whatever it is for you, and it's easier to stay focused on something like a taper for a short period of time. As far as, a lot of one of the reasons that people stay locked into these addictions is predominantly because they're terrified of the withdrawals, right? Sometimes it's because they've actually experienced the withdrawals themselves, or in many cases, if they're a person that's new to an opiate-like substance that they've been using, and then maybe they went to stop for one day, or they missed a dose one day and decided, well, this is kind of seems to be getting out of control. Let me try to stop for a dose and just see how I feel. And then they stop, or they wake up in the morning and they skip their morning Kratom dose, and then they notice, damn, I feel rather like shit, you know? And then, or maybe they try to go a whole day without taking it, and they try to go to sleep that night, and they realize that, oh shit, I've got restless legs. You know, I can't keep my legs still. Oh shit, I've got this discomfort, like hypertrophy sort of feeling in my chest, and I can't stay still, and I can't get comfortable, and it's just, I have a general sense of unwell-being, right? And a lot of people experience that, and then it turns out being the withdrawals themselves that scare the hell out of people and keep people using that opiate-like substance because they're scared of the withdrawals, right? And where the hell was I going with that? I think the point I was making is you got to start somewhere, so with that, you know, I think it's easier in the long run to try to push the taper as hard as you can. You know, you gotta get comfortable with being uncomfortable a little bit. You know, you don't have to go into full-on acute cold turkey withdrawals, but even in a taper, you have to be somewhat comfortable with being at least slightly uncomfortable. Because if you're not being uncomfortable, then you're not what? You're not tapering. Because we talked about that. If you're taking 20 grams per day, the only way you're not going to experience any withdrawals whatsoever is if you're just staying on 20 grams per day. If you're staying on 20 grams per day, then you're what? You're not quitting. Duh. It's obvious, right? You're not quitting. So if you want to quit, you have to knock it down a little bit. And instead of just knocking it down in little tiny increments, you know, some people talk about, you know, a lot of people want to just get out of the addiction completely unscathed. We'll go 3-4 days, stay on the same amount, and then drop it down, but just a little, like half gram, and then do that for another 3, 4, 5 days, and then another little half gram, and then do that for 3, 4, 5. If you're a person that's on 30, some people out here 30, 40, 50 grams of Kratom per day, have you done the math on that? Have you done the math on how long that is going to take you to ultimately come completely off? And then when you put all of that time onto a calendar, how many months, how many weeks, how many days, how many hours, and more importantly, how many minutes is that for you to remain completely focused, laser beam focused on that taper? It's a long time, and that's why a lot of people, and I've gotten multiple comments on this channel where people, you know, are on various different opiate-like substances to pop on and say, dude, you know, give me another option. Just tell me how I can beat the withdrawals, you know, because I can't do the taper. I just can't do the taper. I've tried the taper, can't do the taper. I've tried the taper multiple times. I just can't do the taper. I'm just gonna have to do like a cold turkey sort of situation. So a lot of people will end up doing just a cold turkey situation, or, you know, go to the doctor and get some help with some Suboxone and, you know, some gabapentin and things like this that doctors can prescribe to actually make the tapering process a little easier, you know, something where you can do it quicker, but a little easier. Because when it comes to, you know, having a drug addict mindset and mentality, when it comes to getting off of a substance, quicker is going to be better. Because the more hours and more days and more weeks that you are putting while still on that particular substance, that's going to be more hours, more days, more minutes that your drug addict mentality has to kick in and say, oh, come on, man, just one more dose. You know, you're going over to hang out with these friends. You know, you want to be sociable. You want to be able to talk to people. And you're not really a drinker. I mean, you would prefer some Kratom, wouldn't you? You've been doing so good, man. You've gone 2 weeks now, and you've been stick into this taper. It's not going to hurt you to just, come on, man. Just one more extra dose. Throw that extra 6 capsules in between, And the problem is, if you have more than 1, 2, 3 of those moments in a given few days, you kind of start to get down on yourself, and you start to kind of, well, there goes my taper now. I might as well just, I just can't do it. I might as well just start taking again. And I've done that. I was there, a few months ago when my son was born. I was working on a taper. And then right around the time that we found out we were having a baby, that was a huge, massive life event for me, especially for a guy who's 47 years old. I have one other child, and he's about to be 17 tomorrow. So you can imagine how I felt when all of a sudden I'm like, oh shit, we're about to have another infant in the house? Me being 47 years old? So needless to say, that was a stressful situation. We didn't have time to prepare for having the baby because we only, the baby was born 6 days after we found out my wife was pregnant. If you want to hear the story, just go back and watch some of my videos where I titled it, I'm going to be a daddy again at 47 years old. I go and explain it. We should have been on that show. I didn't know I was pregnant, because that's exactly how it played out for myself and my wife. But anyway, as a drug addict and as a person who has that drug addict mentality, I used that stressful time in my life to, I need some Kratom. I'm not going to withhold anything. And when I decide not to withhold, I'm one, like I said, extremist mindset. It's all or nothing for me. 1,000% or 0%. Go hard or go home. And I'm one of those people, once I decided in that period of my life, okay, I'm not doing this taper. I'm not doing this taper. This is a lot, and I want to be able to have some fortitude through this whole situation. I want to be able to have some push and some drive through this situation, and be able to deal with it in the best way possible. It's probably a dumb choice. No, it wasn't probably. It was a dumb choice, but I've already alluded to that on my previous videos. But I just went ham with it. I got to a point where I was just taking whatever, whenever, and I wasn't even really counting my doses anymore. And I did that for about the first month and a half, almost 2 months after my son was born. And then finally, just recently, as of last week, I was like, see, time to rein this thing in again, time to reel this thing back a little bit, and that's where I'm at now, at the 8 grams, and then today taking the 6.5 grams. So, anyway, went off on hell of a tangent there, but, I want to mention this too. I said I was going to get to this comment the last time. I didn't have time to. This is at Stop Spying on Me 9210. Hey, I want to say before I do this channel, I think one of the reasons people like this channel is because it's kind of for the people. I thought about changing the name of this channel to For the People, By the People. Right? Or By the People, For the People. How does that saying go? For the people, by the people, I think. I don't know. Hell, I don't know. It's a very popular saying. But the reason I thought about that is because a lot of times, these comment sections will begin to kind of take on a life of their own. Because everyone out there that runs across this channel has their own specific set of experiences that they've had with opiates, whether it be Kratom or whether it be a past history, like it was with me, with like pain pills. And there's people out there that have been on heroin, fentanyl, just a plethora of different opiate type medications. And so everybody's coming to this channel with various experiences and various ideas and various perceptions about opiates, how to come off of them, how to do a cold turkey, what to take when you do a cold turkey, how you should live your life while doing a cold turkey. Some people say you shouldn't even do a cold turkey because you're going to fail because it's so miserable, so that's why you should do a taper. And then other people say, well, I can't taper because that's too hard to stay committed and focused for that long, so I'm just going to go to the doctor. I mean, you get a absolute, complete, full spectrum of ideas and, practices, experience, theories that people use in these situations. And a lot of us have just learned it from the school of hard knocks, just doing research, just to try to benefit ourselves. Well, how do I make this transition off of opiates? I know the opiates are bad for me, but there's no magic fairy gonna come in and affect your free will and keep you from doing this or keep you from doing that or keep you from taking an extra dose, on the weekend or just whatever it is. So a lot of people end up having to do it themselves, right? Even a doctor can prescribe you Suboxone, but you can leave the doctor's office with your Suboxone, go through, say fuck it, go throw the Suboxone in the trash, and then go back to the store and get some Kratom. Or you could throw the Suboxone in the trash, drive down the street, go to another doctor's office, and they could prescribe you some actual pain pills. I mean, even a doctor can't make you, maintain any sort of taper method. So at the end of the day, it really becomes up to each individual person, and we've all had to learn by the school of hard knocks in our own way. So in a lot of ways, many of us are fucking pros. And I tell people all the time, I mean, that's one of the reasons I've messed around with YouTube for ages, different things. I love MMA. I kind of started an MMA channel a while back, did that for a little while. It kind of lost steam. I was like, I don't really have the time to, sit and research, upcoming fights and about the fighters and this and that and the other. I mean, it's cool. I like to talk about it, but it's more one of those things where I just sit and talk to another, hardcore MMA fan about it. But I'm too busy of a person to have time to sit and do all the necessary research and stuff like that. And the reason I landed on this idea to do this channel about this specific thing is because I was like, dude, I'm already a pro with this shit. I've been dealing with, substance abuse, and specifically substance abuse to opiate type medications for almost all of my adult life. And I've gone through multiple cold turkey withdrawals. I've most recently done some tapering, and through all of that, all of the research that has culminated for me throughout the years, just trying to figure out how to help myself get out of the fucked up situation that I put myself in, I've become quite a pro with this shit. And a lot of you guys have too. Like I said, I get a lot of comments on here of people, talking about things that really work for them. Now, granted, we're all different. We've all taken different amounts. We're all on, a lot of times, different substances, different amounts of that substances for different lengths of time. All of our body types are different. All of our metabolisms are different. A lot of us are sedentary. A lot of us are active. We're different ages. We're different sexes. Need I say more? It's always different from one person to the next, to the next, to the next, to the next. So it's not a cookie cutter sort of formula or format that's going to work for each person or each individual person, because we are all individuals, right? But I should call it for the people, by the people, because this channel's kind of for you guys. And that's why I go in here and read good comments that I get sometimes, and then we talk about them, and then other people jump on and chime in and say, well, hey, maybe you can try this, or maybe you can do that. And then people can take what they need from the comments, or they can leave what they don't need, and leave it in the comments. And that's kind of how I've formatted this channel, to be a helpful resource for all of us, for each of us, including myself, right? So Stop Spying on Me 9210 says, man, I could not even get through one day tapering. Wasn't even in withdrawal, just bored at home. Ended up wasting $40 on a shot and some Kava. I feel like I'd get addicted to anything. Hell, I even see myself getting addicted to the CBD vape I'm using to try to get off of the THC. Anyway, I'm not even sure if I want to quit. I just feel like it might be beneficial to quit, but that means going back to having constant back and shoulder pain. I work on my feet 8 hours a day as a cashier at a grocery chain. I can't be moody because my back hurts or I didn't take enough Kratom. I don't know why I even want to quit, to be honest, other than the drugs bad campaign of my childhood. The world is a pretty shitty place. Maybe I just need something to make it bearable. I don't know. We all die in the end. Why shouldn't I just keep using this ground up plant that's making me more focused and happy just to prove a point that I can? Anyway, I'm going to switch to stem and vein and look into other supplements like magnesium, black seed oil, vitamin C, agmatine sulfate, ashwagandha, etc. And then use the 500-gram stem and vein to taper off. Try to take at least a month off after. Maybe I should get something like a probiotic for my gut, maybe hormone balancing supplements, and then as I'm tapering, use more and more alternatives. Maybe skip my evening dose and have an IPA. I don't know. I'm just kind of tired of overthinking it, but I don't think a regular slow taper will work for me. This is exactly what I was just talking about. A lot of people feel this way. It's absolutely true. I'm really hoping this reset pack thing works. If you search break time blend, you'll find one that Joey Talks and Botanical Queens swear by. I thought I'd recommend their channels as well, as they are rather informative about this stuff. Yeah, and it's funny he mentioned that about Joey Talks, because I've definitely watched some of his information, some of his videos, and it's one of those things where I don't want to try to drag anyone through the mud for anything, because everyone's different, and some people actually need opiates, right? Some people need opiates and are going to need opiates until the day they die. So I've never been a person to get on here and campaign against opiates or against Kratom or anything else, because everyone's not in the same place I am. I don't deal with chronic physical pain. So for me, I don't really have much of a fucking excuse to use it all the time. And when I come completely off of Kratom, I'm also not going to sit here and say I'll never use it again. It may be one of those things where I'll try, maybe just see if I can use it on the weekend a little bit. I just don't want to be at a point where I'm a slave to the plant, where the interdose withdrawals, meaning the times in between that I've, if I take my morning dose and then I'm waiting till 1 o'clock or 2 o'clock to take my afternoon dose, that about 12 o'clock I start feeling like shit. My wife takes Kratom, but she doesn't take it to the extent at which I take Kratom. She'll take maybe 2 or 3 grams per day, and then she'll take that in the morning, and then she usually doesn't take any for the rest of the day. So she doesn't have any interdose withdrawals. She doesn't start feeling like a special mode of shit if she goes 4, 5, 6, 7 hours without taking Kratom. I do, because my usage has spiked up to an amount where my body is dependent upon it. So when I go to stop taking it, it sucks, to be completely honest. It just sucks. And and I might try my hand with that, but maybe not. I don't know, and a lot of schools of thought that, the NA school of thought, and, once a drug addict, always a drug addict, that school of thought, if any of those people hear me say that, they go, no, man, no, don't do that. Don't think that way. If you couldn't control it then, you're not going to be able to control it in the future. And that probably is right. That could be true. But, I'm one of those people that, I love the effects of it. And I may still try it, but I do want to get to that point where I'm off of it for at least an amount of time where I'm not physically dependent upon it anymore. So if I want to go and, hit up the Kratom bar on a weekend and have like a you know, a crushed tea or something that has some kava and kratom in it, and kind of enjoy a mood lift and high that day. But then when Saturday night comes around and I haven't taken any more, I want to be able to get to the point where I don't have it in my house with me, that I have no kratom in my house. That if I want to go somewhere to like to a kratom bar, drink something while I'm there, and then leave, but then Saturday night I don't feel shitty because I'm not at that point of where I've peaked, where I've gotten to that tipping point where now I have to have it or I feel like shit, you know. And there is that tipping point for everyone. But hey, stop spying on me. Hey, I know where you're at, man. I know where you're at. And that's kind of where I was. That's kind of where I was about a couple of months ago. And I kind of let myself slide back into that mindset. And, you know, and really you're the only one that can figure that out. You know, you're the only one that is really going to be able to make that choice for yourself, whether the kratom use is enough of a detriment to you to quit, or if you're okay with where you're at with kratom. But, you know, just don't let your addict mentality be what dictates that to you, because your addict mentality is always going to sugarcoat things. Your addict mentality is always going to lie to you. Well, it's not that bad. It's just a plant, you know. Well, it's better than doing this. Well, taking kratom is better than using heroin. You know, we always love to do that. Well, it's better than this thing. You know, at least I'm not on the street corner, you know, dying from a fentanyl overdose. You know, we love that one, you know. And I don't mean to make fun of people who are struggling with fentanyl, you know, heroin, any of those really hard opiates. It scares the shit out of me. And I so feel for people who are on things like that. I feel for me being addicted to kratom like I am, because it's no cakewalk either. I don't care if it is legal. You know, once you get up to a certain amount where you've been taking it for an extended period of time, it sucks. I don't care what anybody says. It sucks to try to come off of it. So I'm definitely not making fun of anyone, but I'm just saying there is a reality with that addict mentality where you try to make excuses for yourself, you know, sugarcoating how bad it really is to try to make it seem not quite as bad, but it's just an excuse to keep using, right? Your sex drive is going to come back when you start to lower your dosage. I experienced that this past weekend. Unfortunately, I've not really been horny in probably a year, to be honest with you. I know it sounds terrible, and that's not just because I'm 47 years old, because I'm telling you, I'm a healthy 47-year-old. I'm very active, and I've always had extremely high testosterone levels. Kratom completely shot and killed that for me, but just getting down to even 8 grams this past weekend, I already can kind of start to feel that, you know, kind of seeping up is starting to kind of come up, you know, no pun intended. But oh yeah, and also I've shit about 4 times a day. Yeah, so your bowels are going to come alive like no other when you start to really taper down off of kratom. But anyway, I got to get out of here. Love you guys, appreciate it. Subscribe to the channel, like the video, leave a comment down below. Let me know what your experiences is. Let me know what your experiences are, and where you are in your specific relationship and journey with kratom or anything else. We talk about it all on here. But love you guys. We will see you tomorrow. All right, peace.